Hey guys, we're back here again with the Wirtgen 60RI. Today what we're going to go over is setting some of the parameters when you're grinding. In particular, after your first pass. Now on your second pass, that wheel is going to be inside the cut. So then the parameters for this plate are not going to be the same as that one. Generally, they're going to be 0. I'm going to show you how to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and go down to those 3 inches. Now, if you see on this side, the machine's going down, but it's not going down on the sensors yet, but they're not touching. Now that the plates are touching, it's going to go down. I can set this to automatic and it should go down. Alright, so I'm going to move. And I'm going to let the machine just go by itself. I'm going to press this button here a few times for a few feet to make sure that my scraper is picking everything up. And you're going to see that in the rear. You'll be able to see the cut down there. If the cut looks clean, then that means you're picking everything up. So this here is exactly what I'm talking about. It may be a little bit hard to see here on the dirt, but if you see your cut, my scraper starts out here, but the cut is down here, right? This is my cut. So you got to be careful where you're starting. And what I mean, if I didn't push that button to bring the scraper down, my scraper would have been here, and I would have left most of the material. The sensors in this cylinder that goes off of this plate. So wherever this plate sits, where we calibrated the machine, that's going to determine our cut. And it knows that because as the machine goes down, even though the plate hasn't moved from the floor, the cylinder is attached to the machine. So as the machine goes down, the ram goes in. And that's how it calculates where it's at. Now on this next pass, that wheel is going to be inside of that cut. Alright, so the machine here is already set up for the next pass. As you can see, my wheel is inside the cut. Now I have this material left over. You're always going to have some material left over. If you don't clean this stuff up, your machine's going to run it over, and then your cut's not going to come out properly. You want this cleaned out. Alright, so we're back on top of our machine. We're set up, we're clean on the end. We're set over here. Now the most important part when setting up your next pass is setting your machine straight. If you don't set up your machine straight, what's going to happen is that when you're making your cut back here, your machine might do this, and then your cut's going to go like this, that way. Once we're sure of where our machine's at, we're going to change our setting here to 0. Now 0 is a good start. A lot of the times I'm around here, about a quarter. I'm going to set it to 0, see how well the machine works. And depending on how good you calibrate your machine, how accurately, will determine how close that 0 is going to be to match the cut. So I'm going to go ahead and do this cut about halfway, and then I'm going to show you guys something. When you get started with the second cut, you're going to bring it down manually on both sides. You cannot use the sensors here. What's going to happen if you hit the automatics, if you see the back of that plate is on the top, where the other part is going to be on the inside. So your plate is not going to go down flat it'll be like this, and it's gonna throw off the sensor. Therefore, you cannot automatically go down. What you're gonna do, on the other hand, is you're gonna manually take it down with your controllers, go down to 3, regardless of what this one's saying. You're gonna try to match the machine once you get close. So I'm gonna go ahead and get it started. I'm gonna start going down, and I'm gonna go down on both sides. I'm gonna get it pretty even. It's not gonna be perfect. Now the reason, even though our cut is 0, the reason we're gonna go down to 3 we want the machine to also be even. So we're gonna go down to 3 on both sides. Now we can hit the automatic on one side and we can start milling. So we're just gonna take it nice and slow and straight. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hit my buttons here to make that plate go down as I'm going forward. You see that? It should get really close to 0. Once it does, we're gonna go automatic. If we were too low, no big deal. Once again, we're hitting our scraper button to make sure we're picking up all our material. So now we're going 3-0. So now I'm gonna do something. We're at 3-0. We're about halfway into our cut. We've been pushing our scraper. We already hit our automatic. We will only hit that automatic as we're moving forward about 5 to 10 feet. We're pushing our plate to go down. Once it gets close to that 0, then we turn on the automatic. The machine will adjust whatever it has to adjust. Generally, you're gonna have a ground guide for what I'm gonna show you. What I'm gonna show you is to make sure that you're cutting flush. And you check that by actually checking the floor. Now you're gonna see here, I got a nice 3-inch cut. And we're gonna check to see if this is flush. Now I was a little bit low. The machine was at like 0.7. So I was going down almost an inch. And you can see that right here. You see that? That's that inch right here. Now I adjusted to 0 once I hit those automatics, and you'll be able to see that right here. See how flush that is? Compare that to this little hump and that being flush. That's where you want your machine to be. Generally, your ground guide is gonna check that. Your ground guide should come back here every once in a while with a shovel, with his boot. He should just come out here, swipes it. If it looks flush, you're good. He'll let you know to go up a 1/2 inch, go down a 1/2 inch, and you go from there. All right, so we're back on top of the machine. We're gonna turn on our drum, and we're gonna start milling again. Turn on my conveyor. Once we get to the end, right, we're at 3-0. Once we get to that end, that plate is gonna go up. So that's gonna throw off the sensors. So what we're gonna do once we get close to that edge, we're actually gonna turn off the sensor, and we're gonna use our button to bring the plate up. But the machine is not going to go up. I'm trying to go as slow as I can because I'm recording with one hand. We're almost there. All right, so now that we're really close, I'm gonna go ahead and turn off my automatic. It's still gonna cut at 0. I get close to that edge, I start lifting up. You see that going up? That's gonna stop it from getting stuck when you're doing like a 4-inch, 6-inch cut. For a lot of your cuts. All right, I'm gonna call it here. Turn off my machine. I'm gonna turn off my conveyor. For a lot of these machines, a lot of your cuts, when that tire starts to go up, you're generally gonna be at the right spot, give or take a 1/4 inch, a 1/2 inch. All right, guys, so this is the end of my cut. It's where I stop my drum. I always like to clean out the end of my cuts before I start the next one, so I know how much further or shorter I have to go. If I went too far, next time I'll stop a little bit sooner, vice versa. If you stop too short, next time you just look at your markers or whatever you're taking as your marker, whatever you're looking at on the machine, and then you just make a small adjustment. It's gonna be the same thing for the back. You always wanna clean out the back to see if you started at the right spot. And obviously over here, that's just where the scraper was sitting and it's dragging material. But if you look at the cut, it's only off by probably about a 1/2 inch to 1 inch. It's not a huge deal. Obviously it's a little bit harder on dirt because this material is too soft. On asphalt, you're gonna see a hard edge of your starts and stops. You always wanna clean out so you can make adjustments. All right, guys, so this is the end of the cut after I cleaned it out. It's extremely close. That's about what you want. It's off by about a 1/4 inch. Now, it's kind of hard to see here. It's one of those things where you have to be here to really be able to see it. It's a little bit higher on the end, on this side. The second pass on the right side, it's a little bit higher. Now that does happen if you have material in your way, if your tire starts going up. What you want to do when you get to that end, go down a 1/2 inch, go down 1 inch. That'll level everything down. If you're having that issue, when you get to your end, go down a 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch to 1 inch, and it should make it all nice and flush. As you can see over here, my cut is as flush as it gets.